Welcome back, everybody. Today we have another episode of our film fan community, and I'm here with a guy that I'm just so happy that I was able to connect with on YouTube. His channel's awesome. He's awesome. His name is Jared, and he likes to talk cinema.
Yeah, Luke said that for the collaboration we did.
Oh, he said the same exact thing.
Pretty much. Yeah, he's like, Jared, he talks cinema.
All right, well then shout out to Luke because I like Luke too. I like his
Pretty
channel,
great.
but I didn't see that video, so what a coincidence. I guess I'm
Mm.
just not that creative. I don't know.
Or maybe it's a clever slogan.
Or maybe it's a clever slogan. Yeah. But anyway, yes, this is Jared. He has done a lot for me to make me feel comfortable in this YouTube sphere community. I'm grateful for that. And I wanted to sit down with him and learn a little bit more about him, his movie likes, dislikes, views, and stuff like that. So we're going to learn a little bit about him today. Let's go ahead and dive right into the first question, which is what inspired you to make your YouTube channel?
Well, I've wanted to do a YouTube channel since like 2012. So it was like 8 years in the making. And there was a YouTuber I watched way back in the day named Trev Shen too, who I haven't watched him in a couple of years. But I found his channel at one point, and he did like a lot of he did some movie reviews, but he mostly did like TV reviews and character studies and whatnot. And I thought that was really cool, so it's something I was definitely interested in doing. But at the time I was in high school, so I didn't really have the time or even the resources to really do it. And then in 2015, I discovered Chris Stuckman, who of course is like, well, he might be retiring now, but at the time he was like the biggest movie reviewer on YouTube. And so he was a huge inspiration for me as well. And his videos were, of course, much more movie review based. And that's kind of where I got the idea to pretty much specifically do movie reviews. So for like 2020, I was kind of planning the channel. And then actually it was last July, I think I made my first video. So I've been doing it for about a year now.
Awesome. Yeah, I actually that was my follow-up while you were talking was how long you've been doing your channel, but you already answered that. So yeah, going on a year now. That's awesome. We got a big year ahead of us now. You
Mhm.
decided to do your channel in a year where there was essentially no new movies.
Yeah, for sure. It was pretty bad
So
timing, but yeah.
so everything that you were able to accomplish within a year with no movies, just imagine what you can do now within the next year now that we have movies.
I
So
know.
I
It's pretty
think
awesome.
I think that you're going to have a fantastic year coming up. The sky's the limit for you, I think. Okay, so when I was coming up with the questions for you, I kind of wanted to think a little bit outside the box from previous people that I've interviewed. And on your channel, there's a couple wacky movies that you've reviewed in the past. And so I wanted to know what your favorite studio or production company was. I'm curious to see if those wacky movies have any play in your answer.
Yeah, I saw that question. I thought it was kind of a sad question, honestly, because I hate to be negative or anything, but nowadays most movie studios I feel are kind of evil. Especially
Okay.
Warner Bros, Disney, and Universal, like with the whole streaming thing, and Universal is always going after people for copyright, and just really kind of messed up business practices. So I feel most studios kind of fit into that nowadays. So I went with Pixar actually. I think Pixar is probably my favorite studio because Pixar has been around for a very long time and they've had a few missteps. Like Luca, I thought was actually kind of disappointing, but for the most part, their movies are really, really good. And even Soul that came out last year, I thought that was the best movie of the year, and that's probably my favorite Pixar movie nowadays, honestly. So yeah, I feel like they really put a lot of creativity, a lot of passion into their movies. They seem to actually care. Like they seem to care more. Well, Toy Story 4, that was kind of I feel that was kind of a cash grab. For the most part, they care more about creativity and whatnot. And yeah, I just feel that they really do care and they just make really good movies. So I'm going to say Pixar.
I don't think anyone can disagree with you on Pixar. To be honest, I thought you were going to say like A24 or something like that.
I thought that, but not every A24 movie is enjoyable, though, honestly.
Yeah,
Like a
I
few of
feel
them are
that.
they're good, but I can't really watch them again. So Pixar movies are much more rewatchable and much more fun.
So for the next question, I don't know if this one's a little controversial, but I think everyone is going to have a different answer. What age do you think is the appropriate age to start letting kids or teenagers, whatever you want to call it, being introduced into R-rated movies? Is there a limit to the R-rated movies? Because some are worse than others. What's your opinion on that?
This might be a bit of a hot take. We'll see. But I'm actually going to say any age, really. I think it's a case by case basis, honestly. I think it's like a parent really should just know their kid
Hmm.
and they should be able to determine whether or not their kid can handle something. It also depends on the movie too. Like if you feel your kid can handle this R-rated movie, then I say go for it. But if you think your same kid can't handle this R-rated movie, then don't even bother. And maybe your kid you feel can't handle anything, in which case don't let them do anything. But I feel it really is like a case by case basis, and I feel it really is just like whatever the movie is, however the kid is, really. As well as the fact that one thing I've never really understood is that like because this was the case for me growing up, like my parents are very restrictive about what I could watch, and I'm like, guys, I'm fine, okay. Like first off, I already know about a lot of this stuff, which you don't really seem to be aware of. Second of all, I'm even if something is like crazy or disturbing or whatever, I'll be fine. I'm not going to be traumatized for life, so I really don't think it's that big a deal to show a kid an R-rated thing. And actually, what you just said about parents, like they might have a different choice. Cody Leach, he actually has a couple of kids who are like elementary school age, and he lets them watch R-rated stuff all the time. Like he takes them to the theaters and everything. So like he's totally fine with showing his kids that kind of stuff, and his kids seem to be okay with it. So yeah, any age, honestly.
Case by case, yeah. I think that pretty much sums it up. I mean, just every kid is different, to be honest. Some are going to react differently to horror or curse words. Some are going to understand not to repeat the stuff, and some are going to just roll with it. And you're right, you really just have to know the kid. All right, so within the vast years of cinema, there are hundreds of thousands of directors, maybe even millions. I don't know. There are so many, but what do you think is the Mount Rushmore of directors, alive or dead? It doesn't matter.
For me, it's gonna have to be Spielberg, Tarantino, Nolan, and Cameron. Different
I
than what
didn't
you thought.
I didn't think of Cameron because when I think of Cameron, I just think of T2 and Avatar. I mean, he's done obviously a lot more, but those are just the first two that come to my head. I thought that you would have said Kubrick. You seem like a Kubrick guy.
Well, let's just be honest. Like most Kubrick movies are super boring. Okay, I'm gonna say that proudly. Like most people I know will not be able to sit through 2001. So
Those are definitely all very good directors. Definitely have left their stamp in cinema history, and there'll be names that 50 years from now people will still know, are still going to be relevant in pop culture, I think. So, what makes a film a classic in your eyes?
what makes a film classic in my eyes? That was probably the hardest question. Probably back to what I was just saying though about how like I feel those directors make movies that both critics and audiences can enjoy. I
Mhm.
say something like that. Like if it's a movie that is still really like really deep, really intellectual, really like emotional and stuff, but also is very fun, very enjoyable, very rewatchable. I think that could do it. As well as like a movie that really like changes cinema, really. Like Jaws, of course, was a big first big summer blockbuster. That was a huge change for movies. Star Wars, of course, was this huge cultural milestone. So that was like a huge change with how movies were done. Titanic and Avatar, like two of the highest grossing movies of all time. So those definitely changed some things. Avengers, the whole shared universe thing, which now everyone's trying to do. That was a huge change for movies. So yeah, I would say those two reasons.
What are some of your favorite movies?
So many choices. I'd say Pulp Fiction, definitely. That's probably my favorite movie. Besides Pulp Fiction, I'll say Jurassic Park, E.T., Back to the Future. So many choices, man. So it's hard to narrow it down to a couple. You can kind of see my shelf behind me there on the other side of the room. There's a couple hundred movies on there. Oh man, 12 Angry Men for sure.
All right, well, we are actually on the final question for you, Jared. So
Mhm.
this one is a long question. I'm gonna have to read it because I couldn't memorize it because it was so long. So sorry about that, but
Don't
I'll
worry
go
about it.
ahead and ask it.
That means it's a good question.
I put a lot of thought into it. With movie theaters now open and in some cases seating at full capacity, do you believe that we will ever get back to having multiple billion-dollar movies in a single year, or is the movie-going audience expecting a new normal with movies having streaming releases or same-day releases of big-budget movies that can be seen at home and will now be more rare to see multiple billion-dollar movies in a single year due to that? So an example would be 2019. There was probably 6 or 7 billion-dollar movies that year. I don't know honestly if we're going to see that again. So what do you think?
I believe that we absolutely will see it again, in my honest opinion. Yeah, I think that movies are definitely going to come back. There's going to be billion-dollar movies happening all the time. And the reason I think that is because, like, in my review for Mortal Kombat, I even mentioned that, like, I saw that on opening night. My theater was completely packed. Like, pretty much every seat was filled. Even though that movie was available on HBO Max, a lot of people still came out to see it anyway. And right before the movie started, there was a dude in the audience who he yelled really loudly, and he was like, "Hey everyone, isn't it so great to be back at the movies again?" And the whole theater clapped and cheered and whatnot. Like, all these people were just so happy to finally be back. Nobody wanted to watch it at home. And Black Widow this past weekend, same thing. Like, every seat was filled on opening night, and like it took like a whole minute just to get out the theater due to traffic of everyone trying to get out at the same time. So yeah, I think that people love the movies. I think people don't like watching things at home. Watching movies at home, just it's not the same. Like, with Luca, for example, that was only
Mhm.
on Disney Plus. And I would have loved to have seen that in theaters. And Disney decided not to do that because it's Disney. So, and it sucked, like it would have been so much better in theaters. And I feel a lot of people like don't really like streaming. A lot of people are tired of it. And sure, it might be a little bit more convenient if you're trying not to leave the house, but I mean, then you're just kind of just a boring person at that point. Like, get out there, live a little bit, like go out there and see it on the big screen. It's so much better. So yeah, I think streaming is going to slowly start to die out. I think theaters are going to come back. And even like Warner Bros., I think even said that they're not doing the streaming thing for 2022. I might be wrong about that, but I thought I
Right.
read that somewhere that they're not doing that anymore. So
No, no.
I think it was kind of just a weird experiment that I thought did not work at all. And yeah, I think movies are definitely going to come back, especially as the year goes on.
I'm a little torn. Like, I want to see that happen. I really do, because I haven't released my Black Widow review, but in it I talk about how nice it was to see a new MCU movie with a full theater. It made me happy. But my dad, for example, he's a casual moviegoer. He has no interest anymore in going back to the movie. He's now used over this last year, he's used to watching these new movie releases the same day on HBO Max. And the movies that aren't on HBO Max, he doesn't want to go to the theater really to go see. He's comfortable watching it at home, doing his own thing, watching it at whatever time he wants. He doesn't want to go back to the movie theater and be bothered by people.
But I mean, like, the whole reason people are doing that now is because that kind of became the new norm. But like, as COVID slowly starts to go away, which it basically is almost gone at this point now, like barely any infections anymore. And as movies are continuing to come out, and especially now, like I said, I don't think Warner Bros. Is doing that experiment anymore. So I think people are gonna, like, it became the new norm, and then going back to the way things used to be will become the new norm again. So I think people will start to be more comfortable with it.
I hope so. I hope we can get back to 2019.
Yeah, man, that was a good year. I'm so glad COVID didn't hit that year, because Endgame. Imagine
Dude,
Endgame
there
getting,
would have been there would have been an uproar.
dude, it would have been rioting in the streets. Oh my
Oh yeah,
god,
it would have
that
been
was the best
crazy.
theater experience I've ever had. See, that's another thing too, is that, like, you can't capture that kind of stuff at home.
No,
Like,
no.
my theater for Endgame, everyone was so excited. People were cheering, people were
People were
crying. It was
crying.
insane,
There
huh?
was a girl in front of me. I remember I saw it with a friend. There was a girl tearing up in Endgame,
Oh yeah,
and I'm sitting there and I wanted to tear up because like she made me
yeah.
emotional about the movie.
Dude, I was emotional by myself, man. Like, oh my god, it was so crazy. Yeah, like the scene where Captain America caught the hammer, my whole theater erupted. It was like a nuclear bomb went off in there. Like, you can never get something like that at home.
Well, Jared, we're on the butt end of the interview. If you have anything you want to throw at me real quick before we end, you can. But if not, then this will be the end of our interview.
Yeah, well, my question for you is, what is your favorite part about doing YouTube?
I got two answers.
Okay.
I know you said my favorite, but I got two. I'm gonna bend the rules. So on the creative side, this is kind of weird to say, but I really like making thumbnails. That that's
Yeah, that's
that's
pretty
like my
fun.
favorite part. Now, when I'm in a rush and I have to throw a thumbnail together really quick, I'm usually pretty like upset with myself because that's like my favorite part and I rushed it. When I have time to think of ideas and play around with different pictures and fonts and lettering, that's when I really have fun with it. And when, I'm doing different stupid poses or like stuff like that, like I like doing that stuff. My second favorite from the non-creative side is honestly being able to interact with you and Brad from Let's Be Real with Brad, the Screen Kings, Sean from Let's Lost in the Reel, Anthony from Anthony Gaming, like stuff like that, like meeting you people and you guys accepting me and adding me into the Discord so that I can meet everyone else and talk to them whenever I want to, like stuff like that, just making me feel welcomed in this community. I love that. And I can reach out to anyone across the United States, people from across the pond in the UK at any time of day and talk about movies whenever I want. Like that's awesome. Like why wouldn't I love that? So yeah, just being with my film fan community is my other favorite part. That is the end of the interview. Jared, you were a excellent guest. Thank you so much for taking the time to be part of this with me. I know that you have a very busy schedule, but it means a lot to me that even though your channel's bigger, you've been doing it a lot longer, you take the time to do this with me so I can get to learn about you. So Jared, do you have anything upcoming on your channel that you want to plug really quick?
Yeah, well, first off, we have that well, I don't know whose channel it's going to be on, but we have our Black Widow spoiler talk, which I
Yep.
think that's going to be a lot of fun. So we're doing that in an hour and a half. And then as well as the fact that I have a Black Widow coming out. I have the next two Fear Street movies. I also am going to have July's a big month for movies. We're also getting Space Jam. We're getting what else? Old. We're getting The Green Knight. Is that it? I think that might be it for July. But yeah, so that's pretty much my schedule for the rest of the month is all those movies.
All right. And where can everyone find you online?
You can find me online for my YouTube channel is JaredTalksCinema. It's also my Facebook and my Instagram page. My Twitter is actually a little bit different. My Twitter is at Hot Sauce Hourgo because Jared Talks Cinema is one letter too long, sadly. So I'll have to try to figure that out. So I changed it to Hot Sauce Hourgo, which is from Tenet, one of the lines from Tenet. It's where I got the inspiration for that name. Yeah, so that's Twitter, and then Facebook and Instagram is still my name.
All right, awesome. So yes, I will have the links for his online channels if I can find. Well, I can find definitely the YouTube one, but if I can find the Twitter one and stuff like that, I'll definitely have them in the description of this video. You can find me on Facebook under Pierce Productions. You can find me on Instagram, TraceP119. And until then, I will see you next time.
Thanks for having me, man. It was great.
Snarere snitten. Det är också upp